Hey everyone, it's Colin, how's it going? I think there's no better bang for buck in retro gaming than the original PlayStation, but there are still a lot of people who never got into the platform. So in this video, I'll give you a bit of a crash course in PlayStation hardware so you'll know what to look out for if you go shopping for one. There were 4 major revisions to the PlayStation console. All but the last version come in that familiar gray boxy form factor with a built-in power supply. They all have 2 memory card slots and 2 controller ports, but a 4-player multi-tap adapter was available. The first models debuted in 1994 and have direct AV outputs on the back in the form of RCA jacks. But these suffer from a design flaw with the optical drive, where the bulk of the parts were made from plastic. As time went on, these parts would warp or wear, and the laser lens would stop reading discs properly. Audiophiles still look for these models though, as they feel they offer excellent sound quality when used as an audio CD player. The next revision is perhaps the best one for modders. While the RCA jacks on the back are gone, Sony redesigned the optical drive to make it more reliable. This version still has its parallel and serial ports on the back, which were commonly used for things like mod chips and Game Sharks. The third iteration of the original PlayStation design was similar to the previous one, but Sony removed the parallel port to help combat piracy and reduce manufacturing costs. The last version of the PlayStation got a small name change, but a big overhaul. It was released in 2000 at about the same time as the PlayStation 2, so accordingly Sony called it the PSOne. It's significantly smaller than the original models, but it plays all the same games. It has an external AC adapter, but uses the same AV cables, memory cards, and controllers. The PSOne even offered its own exclusive accessories, such as the PSOne LCD screen from 2001, which allowed you to play your games somewhat on the go. It was actually a bit of a test on Sony's part to determine how well a true portable console would do. They'd released the PlayStation Portable around 2005. Regardless of which version you'll buy, you'll need a memory card to save your games. The PlayStation doesn't have any built-in memory, and of course you can't save to the game itself since they're on CDs. Memory cards come in various brands and capacities, and they're very cheap, just a few dollars. Something else to think about are controllers. The original PlayStation controller features a D-pad, 4 action buttons, and 4 shoulder buttons. It's a much more traditional design compared to the controller from the Nintendo 64, which was Sony's primary competition at the time. And as you probably know, that basic design has stood the test of time since it's still being used even for the PlayStation 4. Around 1998, Sony released the DualShock controller, which added on a pair of analog thumbsticks and 2 rumble motors. DualShocks are much more common controllers than the originals, and honestly, I think they're just plain better. The thumbsticks make certain types of games much more enjoyable to play, and were available in several different colors. You can use either of these kinds of controller with any version of original PlayStation console. As for games, there are a ton. Sony was very aggressive in its fight against Nintendo and got a lot of software developers on its side. Platformers, racing, RPGs, fighters, they all have well-known titles on the PlayStation. Most of these games are still really cheap, usually going for just $5 to $10. Some have kept quite a bit of value though, with games like Final Fantasy VII going for upwards of $50 for a copy. If that kind of cost is a problem for you, but you already have a PlayStation 3, 4, or Vita, a number of original PlayStation titles, including those from the Final Fantasy series, can be bought from the PlayStation Store pretty inexpensively. But to a lot of retro gamers, there's nothing like playing games on their original hardware. So if you find a PlayStation while you're out, say at a garage sale or flea market, how can you tell which model it is? The easiest way is to look at the ports on the back. If it has RCA jacks, it's an original version which you may want to think twice about given the problems with the CD drive. If it has no RCA jacks but a parallel port, then you have a solid buy on your hands. If it's lacking a parallel port, it's not the end of the world, it'll just limit your options if you're interested in modding it. Also keep in mind that Sony used region coding on the console, so you'll want to buy one from the same region as you plan to get games for. The last digit of the model number indicates the region. 0 is Japan, 1 is North America, 2 is Europe and Australia, and 3 is Asia. What if you can't decide which model to get? In that case, I'd recommend a PSOne. They're sturdy and reliable, they play all the same PlayStation games, and they seem to be impervious to turning yellow, unlike their older siblings. But sometimes you just want that hit of nostalgia that only an original gray console can provide. Considering that they usually go for only $30 to $40, the answer is clear for those who are truly indecisive. Just buy one of each. If you like the video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Those help quite a bit. If you haven't already, please subscribe or follow me on Twitter @thisdoesnotcomp. And as always, thanks for watching.